And we are live. It's Dr. Justin Marcagiani in the house with Jay Campbell. Really excited for today's podcast. We're going to be talking about a whole host of things from hair loss to improving testosterone, inflammaging versus inflammation, as well as just increasing your consciousness. Jay, welcome to the podcast, man. How you doing?
Doc, man, it's an honor to be here. Always, when I get a chance to speak with people in our profession who are knowledgeable, I am privileged and humbled to be here. So, man, let's make this amazing.
Excellent. Very good. Well, in the functional medicine community, kind of where I work, there's a lot of people that complain about hair loss, especially kind of people coming post-COVID, right? We're doing a lot of nutritional things, diet things, improving digestion, absorption, trying to get inflammation down. But I kind of found you because you have a couple of products out there that I've heard some really good things about that kind of improve hair loss, improve hair restoration. Outside of your typical like Propecia, Rogaine, minoxidil type of medications. I want to talk a little bit more about that just kind of out of the gates. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's, again, thanks for being here. It's an honor to be here with you today. I'm very excited always whenever I get the opportunity or the chance to talk about hair loss. When I speak about hair loss, I usually, for people that aren't really up to speed, I kind of like drop the hammer because, as you know from reading my articles, but you're one of the few that actually wants to drill down into that rabbit hole because, you know, that article that was on Ben Greenfield's website last summer that was 3 parts is over 10,000 words, right? So most people today don't read in that depth or that level, but there's a lot of science now out there that teaches us the real definition and cause of hair loss. And drum roll, please. Hair loss is caused by blood flow restriction to the scalp. There's nothing else that causes hair loss but blood flow restriction to the scalp. And blood flow restriction to the scalp is actually caused by a myriad, number of things. I mean, there's probably, I could give you 100 answers as to what causes hair loss. And, that obviously is COVID. That is micro irritants. That is, heavy lead poisoning. That is overexposure to the sun. That is stress. That is lack of sleep. That is hormonal related hair loss, right? So DHT inhibition, women that have autoimmune disorders, lack of sleep, again, causing cortisol spikes and, over increases of prolactin. I mean, again, there's so many different answers, IGF-1, inefficiencies and overproduction. So there's so many different things that can cause hair loss, but we definitely at least now know that if we can control for the loss or the blood flow restriction to the scalp and do things to increase blood flow to the scalp, we can actually regrow hair. And Justin, what's so cool is, my product, without being a shill or sounding like a shill, if you are suffering from a genetic predisposition, which is, androgenic alopecia or androgenic alopecia, there's other ones, you can actually minimize that by doing, again, the things that you need to remove inflammation from the scalp and increase what you would call angiogenesis to the scalp, which is, again, increasing red blood cells. And at some point, as we get deeper into this, I'm happy to give people a lot of different things you can do. I have like a really cool meme that I can send you and you can post, after the fact of like my business partner, obviously Nick with our company, but like our inner circle hacks of what you can do to massively increase hair loss as you, or hair regrowth as you age.
Excellent. And I saw this article. I had it up here on the screen as we were kind of chatting. This was a phenomenal article I saw earlier in the year because it talked about DHT. We kind of know DHT is this like testosterone metabolite. And so as you get older, essentially you have these hairs that are naturally prone to be DHT sensitive. And we know there's different medications that are out there to block that. So just kind of for the average person, you have your finasteride medications. You could do oral or a topical thing to kind of block that, which can be helpful for some people. But then you kind of, and I always intuitively knew there was an inflammation component because I've worked with too many patients over the last decade where we improved their diet, we got their gut working better, we modulated cortisol, we did things to help kind of the immune response, glutathione, NAC, things to help with the oxidative stress around the scalp. And I saw hair improvements significantly. So I knew there had to be something more than just DHT in and of itself. And then you kind of posted a couple of articles talking about that. So just to kind of, we have like one major track in conventional medicine, which is like your finasterides, which are your like 5-alpha reductase inhibitors. Then you have like your Rogaine minoxidil, which are your vasodilators. Those are your two major paths. But then you kind of come in. So just kind of talk about how you took the two major paths and how you kind of had this little side detour that you found to be better.
Man, I'm so glad to talk to you today, man, because I haven't had a chance to go this deep. But this is, really what we have been attempting to expound. And obviously we did a pretty good job, myself, Nick, and Ben, when we did Ben's podcast. And, again, the article was 3 parts and Ben did a lot of stuff into this. But to your questions, let's go really big picture. So the conventional medicine route was always about inhibiting DHT. But anyone who's ever inhibited DHT, whether it was from the script, which is, you've already mentioned, Propecia, finasteride, or dutasteride, topically, they realized that those, medications actually attach to the follicular root in the scalp somewhat. I always say somewhat. And again, read the articles that we've written if you want to understand the true science, but they will prevent further miniaturization. But here's the big gotcha. The big gotcha is that 90% of people who use any of those products to, again, further miniature or reduce miniaturization, if you stop, all of the hair falls out because they have attached to those follicles in the scalp, blocking that conversion. So once you stop the actual taking of, again, the drug or the vasodilator, because this also applies to minoxidil and Rogaine, the hair falls out. And again, anyone who's used these things has experienced this. The other bigger issue is that there's a very large percentage, there's really no number of men and women, sadly, because women don't report this like men do, but who suffer all sorts of dysfunction, sexual dysfunction, brain dysfunction, bone mineral density dysfunction from these drugs. And again, as you know, because you've read them and you just brought them up, but we wrote an article about DHT inhibition causing cellular dysfunction over time. And the problem, and again, I don't want to worry people, and this is a big rabbit hole, but again, happy to point people, and you will, obviously, and you're doing it now, to the articles on our site that provides the science on this. But over time, inhibiting DHT, which is, again, a natural biological pathway, causes cellular damage. And this can be seen if you do genetic testing, if you do methylated genetic testing, if you go to TrueDiagnostic.com, it's TRU, it's Ryan Smith's company, or if you use the glycan age test, any of these people now that are doing these kind of DNA at the cellular level tests can see people who have been using DHT inhibitors. And by the way, this also extends into testosterone optimization if you're using an AI, an aromatase inhibitor medication, because again, you're blocking. Yes, exactly. You're blocking very powerful and profound biological pathways that should never be inhibited. Now, remember, most of DHT medications and AI medications were originally created for people that were suffering from cancer, right? And then these medications were extrapolated. And one of my good friends in medicine always says, extrapolation does not correlate to causation.
Right.
They're putting them over into these other fields like hair replacement or hair restoration. And of course, suppressing estrogen in people using therapeutic hormones. It was bad thing altogether. And now we have, 5, 7, 10, 15 years of observation, and we can see the harm that it's causing. But Justin, a lot of people will come out, who they'll listen to this podcast and they'll say, but Jay, I've been using a DHT inhibitor. It stopped my hair loss. I get my blood work done twice a year. I have absolutely no issues, right? Like, I'm low body fat, I'm low inflammation, I take care of myself, I have a clean diet. And I will say that's absolutely true. But what do your telomeres look like? And so this is a whole big thing. And I would say that over the next 3 to 5 years, as more and more people start doing these DNA based tests, and they can really look at the end caps and they can see what these DHT inhibitors and AI drugs or medications are doing, it's going to be a major reveal. And I will just throw one other thing in there just to drop the hammer. The majority of men who have died in the last 3 years, pro bodybuilders, physique athletes, performance athletes, competitors, even strong men, of quote unquote heart attacks or sudden death, because again, they're using God knows what, in the kitchen sink. Those guys actually died of what are called microfissures in their vascular networks from using AIs. The AIs literally are causing fissures.
Oh, wow. That's the reason why, huh? Yeah, I know they're doing a whole bunch of different medications.
I'm the only guy that's brave enough to come out and say this. And again, there's nobody doing autopsies on these people, and I'm not going to mention names. Right. But I am very connected to people who work with these guys or worked with these guys previous to them dying, and we know what they're using.
And you're not hearing it's from the heart issues, the heart hypertrophy due to the steroids. Is there any component in that too?
Has absolutely Dude, there isn't a single bit of research in the entire world that shows that testosterone causes anything
But I
that
imagine these guys probably aren't just on bioidenticals. They're probably on all
exactly.
kinds of stuff
I
too,
mean,
right?
exactly. So we're talking about that's exactly right. So we're talking about when you're taking super physiologic levels of all sorts of things,
Right.
and all sorts of things are going wrong and all sorts of harm is being caused. But what we definitely do know is it's the AIs that are causing the
Interesting.
blockage in the vascular network. And look, let me explain the science behind this because this needs to get out there more. You never inhibit estrogen ever.
Mhm.
Most doctors out there today still do not understand that there's no such thing as estrogen or high estrogen symptoms or side effects. These side effects that are being caused are due to inflammation.
Mhm.
People have too much visceral body fat. They're on, therapeutic hormones. Doesn't matter whether it's a man or woman. And the exogenous hormones are causing an inflammatory response. There are inflammasomes being released from the
Mhm.
visceral fat normally that causes the quote unquote side effects of like, water retention or, irritability or mood disablement. All these people literally extrapolate that to high estrogen symptoms. It's completely a falsehood. All of the science and evidence shows that you need healthy levels of estrogen to confer protection to biological systems. So whenever you
Mhm.
use testosterone, whether you're a man or woman, you should never block estrogen, again, through aromatization, because that is what is going to confer protection to the vascular network, to the brain, to bone mineral. I mean, all of these things need estrogen. And I go on Instagram yesterday
Yeah.
and I'm looking at, I won't name names because I don't name names, but very, very well respected people with massive audiences, way bigger than me, who do not understand this still, who are still recommending to their patients about preventing or miniaturizing or blocking aromatization. I know we rabbit holed from hair loss, but all of this stuff relates.
Yeah.
And I'll take it back very simplistically. You cannot block a God created or biologically created system in the body and not think that you're going to have, if you're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
You're going to have downstream issues and effects that are going to show up within time. My business partner, Nick, loves to call, he's a dork, third order effects, right? But like the reality is you're going to see nasty things happen when you do this. And unfortunately, medicine, conventional, not you and me, but conventional loves to use these drugs to screw around with the biological cascade that was, again, created, in these perfect bodies that we have, not realizing that doing that is going to have long-term damage.
Okay. So what about using natural compounds? Because you're talking about like, the aromatase inhibitors, right? And you're talking about some of the pharmaceuticals, but just by keeping inflammation down, by avoiding processed grains and excess omega-6 oils, that may also have an improvement on things. Just selenium and zinc and nutrients may have some mild DHT estrogen metabolizing effects. Eating cruciferous vegetables and some of the sulfur-rich compounds may help with some of that too. So are we kind of drawing a line between natural things that may have a more modulating effect versus drugs that may kind of be indiscretionary and kind of go too over the top, too high or low on that?
So yeah, so it's a great question. So like I get this question a lot all the time. People will ask me, well, what about natural stuff? Like I got a question like 2 days ago. Dr. Berg recommends, natural, using things to naturally suppress estrogen. Okay. So again, let's go back. We do not want to suppress estrogen. What we do want, and you already said it, is we want less inflammation.
Right.
So how we suppress inflammation is not being fat. And obviously, one of the talking points that we have on this call is what is the greatest strategy for a human being to minimize disease as they age? The greatest strategy, and by the way, if you ask 100 doctors that question, one will get it right. The greatest strategy to minimize disease as we age is building muscle, because
Hmm.
muscle is the greatest deterrent to the diseases of aging, because muscle is the most metabolically active tissue, and muscle does not allow for inflammation. Now, I'm not talking about becoming a huge bodybuilder, but I'm talking about being functionally lean as we age. When you build muscle, you have less fat. The more muscle you have, the less chance you have to disease. Again, the less inflammation, the more bone mineral density you have, the more functional strength you have, on and on it goes. So, I mean, like the reality is all those things you said are great adjuvants, cruciferous vegetables, minimizing seed oil consumption, living insulin controlled. I love talking about this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you have to build muscle. And, I'm not one of those guys that says, oh, you shouldn't do cardio and you only build muscle. You have to have a holistic viewpoint. If you're a man, I just got into this yesterday with a very, very big influencer. I won't name her name. She's very, very well renowned. We talk all the time, and she's like not doing cardio, and she's almost 50. And I'm like, what? I'm starting to get belly fat. I won't do cardio. Well, then that belly fat's going to keep coming. Like, there's no amount of growth hormone or testosterone or peptides or anything that you're going to take if you don't increase movement patterning, right? So, at the end of the day, all those things are amazing, but build muscle, be functionally strong. We can talk about mindfulness and yoga and meditation and doing all that stuff and being pliable, but you got to build muscle because the fatter you get, the more sick you get. It's that simple.
So let me kind of go rapid fire. You hit a bunch of avenues I want to go down. So from a movement, muscle building standpoint, are we just talking about functional movements, push, pull, bend, squat, kind of lunge type of patterns? Anything more specific? Anything more like super slow, certain periodization, bands, cables? Kind of what does your routine look like? Just, what would be if you look at your routine kind of from 1,000-yard view, what would be the key core things you'd want to distill to other people that they can apply to theirs?
Dude, man, I love your questions, dude. You're the best. You're the best interviewer I've been on in a long time. You're very, very knowledgeable, man. So great credit to you.
Thank you.
That's a very open-ended question. And I would say that the answer is I'll definitely give him my, regimen, my wife and I's regimen. And I'm 51, and I look literally a lot better than most people look at 20. Okay. And obviously I throw everything but the kitchen sink at my body. I use therapeutic testosterone. I use therapeutic growth hormone. When I'm not using therapeutic growth hormone, I use peptides. I take all sorts of insulin suppressing medications and supplements. I use metformin. I use, dihydroberberin. Like I said, man, I throw the kitchen sink at my body, but I'm also very, scientifically efficient. I use very precise dosages. I go by the research. And of course, the research for me is empirical, right? I got 30 years of doing this. I've been treating my body like a lab rat for 30 years. But to answer your question specifically, because it is important and it's an amazing question, is it's going to be relevant to the person's age. A 25-year-old man or woman can train much more intensely and recover much better than a guy at 51 can, right? No matter how well I take care of myself and how injury-proofed I am and all the shit that I take to recover and how good my sleep is, I still do not have the synovial fluid in my joint capsules that 25-year-old does, right? So I have to modulate the intensity and the recovery from that age to a 50-year-old. But, to answer your question, I think the answer is yes. I would say all of the above, weight training, obvious bone bearing resistance training, a lot of people that don't have access to a gym with all the bullshit that's happened in the last 2.5 years, then you got to do push-pull, push-ups, freestanding squats. If you have a pull up bar, hopefully if you have bands, again, everything is good. My personal pet belief is, and it's really not a belief, it's more of a knowing because I've been doing it for so long, is as you age, rep range is more important than when you're in your 20s and let's say like your early 30s, because it's all about taking the muscle to positive muscle failure, right? Not eccentric, not negative, but to a place where literally your fibers cannot do another rep. So like I have a formulation of training, again, I've created myself, and I call it positive muscle fiber training. It's PMF training. It's a system that I sell. It's a video, and I'm not here to sell my course or anything like that. But
I didn't even know about that. Wow.
Yeah, I'll send it to you after this, and you can go through it. It's pretty epic. I got a lot of people on it, and honestly, I'm stepping on the shoulders of giants because I learned from Charles Poliquin, I learned from Jim Brown, I learned from genius guys. But at the end of the day, the older you are, the more you have to push your body's ligaments, tendons, and muscle fibers to a place where they reach exhaustion pretty quickly. And so for me, a couple of warm-up sets, 2 work sets, each work set goes to positive muscle failure. Again, I'm not doing eccentrics. I don't have somebody spotting me. And then I move, right? And I train my body over usually 6 weeks, periodized rotations. And it's either full body, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or it's a kind of a push-pull split. It's basically a split. Chest, back, legs, biceps, and then delts, triceps, always finishing with core depending on where I'm at in the year, I always foam roll before and after.
Yeah,
Sometimes
smart.
I do some pretty static stretching at
How
certain
long's your
points of the
workout
year.
typically?
My wife and I train together, and my 14-year-old daughter trains with us because she's like a Mary Lou Retton gym freak.
Yeah,
She's in cheer.
nice.
So if it's all three of us, probably 50 minutes. But today, she's actually at cheer camp at Woodward Academy up in Central California. So my wife and I
Nice.
trained together this morning, and we were like 36 minutes, I think, now.
Nice, nice. And in regards to the cardio aspect, are you kind of doing more of a Tabata interval sprint stuff? There's a lot of stuff on my Twitter feed about people really more into like the zone 2 type of thing, getting your heart rate around 120 for like 30 minutes and just kind of holding a steady state. What's your thought process on both of those? What do you like?
Amazing question. So I'm probably going to be a little bit different here and, take it a different direction. And, my background from a research standpoint is low carb ketogenic dieting.
Yep.
20 plus years ago. So I have a lot of experience with energy systems.
Yep.
At one time I worked with Lyle McDonald. I was kind of his research assistant before he wrote the first book on ketogenic dieting and exercise. So know all the science, but at the end of the day, a person's cardio training should be relevant to their diet. And the reason I say that is if you're a faster, okay, or a very low carbohydrate person, and that might be paleo, that could be carnivore, it could be keto. You have to use your training, not your lifting, but your cardio training should be relevant to your energy demand, right? So if you're somebody like me, and by the way, I have a program that I've been following since 2010. It's one of the programs in my book, which is called the Metabolic Blowtorch Diet, but it's an every alternate day fasting. So I fast on the non-lifting days and I eat on my lifting days, right? So I train Monday, Wednesday, Friday normally, and those are the days I eat. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, I fast. And my fasting intervals are anywhere from 18, sometimes just full 24 hours, wake up early the next day and, glycogen load before I train. And that's how I do it. But in truth, your cardio or the people watching this show's cardio should, again, be relevant to the energy that they have while they're doing the cardio. So that zone 1, zone 2 is great advice. I mean, I normally, because I'm a faster, and normally I'm doing my cardio fasted, I'm normally in steady state and my heart rate is somewhere between 150 and 135. Okay. Now, if I wanted to do a fartlek Tabata interval session, I would do it on my lifting day because I have glycogen. And I would do 30, it depends, 25 to 35 minutes of some form of an interval, right? And I would do that because I know that I have glycogen to fuel and not I'm in a place where I have, glycolytic deprivation and I can burn my muscle. So here's the big mistake. The big mistake that people make is they're fasting and they do intervals. And you don't want to do that, especially if you just fasted for 16 hours, because your body is very prone to tapping, through, the enzyme, muscle creatine kinase, muscle protein. And
be more catabolic.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as you do that, you're now breaking down muscle tissue and fueling your body's energy demand from the protein. And so I always tell people, you just got to be cognizant where you are from an energy system. So, again, if you're a hardcore carnivore keto person, then you should never be beyond zone 2. It should always be steady state, moderate intensity. And let's not forget, depending on your age, low impact. Do you know how many people who are 40 who take up CrossFitting and go right into this high impact ballistic shit and destroy themselves? I always used to make jokes. I was like, man, if I was an orthopede, I would put all my centers next to CrossFit gyms.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for my whole cardio approach, I like doing rowing because most cardio things, you're in flexion state.
Rowing's amazing.
It's the only thing that really opens you up and puts you in that extension state.
Rowing and swimming, same thing. If you can do broad stroke swimming, but I mean, how many people have access to a lap pool? But dude, rowing is amazing. If you have one of those ergometers in your house, that's the best form of cardio.
And so you recommend most people, do you like it empty stomach doing your cardio? Keep it more zone 2 for most?
Yes. Yeah. So again, it depends because there's days when I train. I mean, again, everything is relevant to what that person's goal is, right? So if you're a 45-year-old person,
staying lean.
Exactly. You don't give a shit about being ripped, or you're not in a triathlete or some sort of crazy weekend competition. It's how do I look better with my shirt off? How do I have good self-confidence in my job? And then ultimately, like, as I age, like, can I bend over and I pick up my grandkids or my children's kids, you know what I'm saying, without suffering, without pulling something in my spine. You know, my wife and I are like really into looking good. Like, we enjoy traveling, you know, to exotic vacations. So there's like, you know, usually like 3 months out of the year, sometimes 4, we want to look amazing in a bathing suit. You know, I mean, I'm about to be an empty nester, you know, so it's like, I want to like travel the world with my shirt off and be like, I feel good about the way I look. Right? It's always about, as you know, Doc, functional strength as we age and the self-confidence that comes from being lean. I mean, you know, you look better in clothes. You know, you don't have to worry about like throwing your clothes away, you know, because you're going down and up and all that stuff. So again, it's just inflammation will stay at bay by maintaining strength, maintaining leanness, and obviously, you know, preparing, you know, again, depending on your diet, the form of training.
Got it. I think it was Charles Poliquin that said that most people's health goals just revolve around wanting to look good naked, right? That's pretty much
honestly,
it.
That's probably the best way you could say it. And, you know, there's another thing though to that too, is like,
add a functional aspect to it.
Look, for the opposite, most people don't even give a shit. Not your watchers or mine, but most people don't give a shit about their health until they don't have their health.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they throw everything, you know, including the kitchen sink at it. And it's like, dude, you took 35, 45 years to get to this poor level. You think it's going to be fixed in a 6-week or 9-week program or boot camp?
Right.
No.
Right. So I want to crystallize it. So you're working out for 30 to 45 minutes. What are you picking? 6 to 8 movement patterns. Your foam rollies. You're working on soft tissue quality and pliability, you know, probably during the workout. And so is that kind of, you want to add a little more detail to that? Or does that ring a bell?
No, absolutely. Let me add more detail. I mean, I just came from the chiropractor before I got on your show. Okay. So, I mean, I see my chiropractor at least once a week. You know, my wife and I usually go together. He's a pretty advanced dude. Once a month, I see my deep tissue lady who does cranial sacral. And I did a 5.5 hour session on Saturday. And, you know, she clears out all the negative juju. And then I also have a body worker that I see every other week on Tuesdays, which I will be seeing him tomorrow. And, you know, he does the cupping and, you know, ART and, you know, just literally just realigning me and stuff. So, I mean, we're very hardcore, I would say, you know, more than most people, and really like making sure that we maintain these physical avatar bodies as we age. And as you know, dude, it doesn't get easier. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I can imagine. So your cardio routine, what does that look like now? Give me that breakdown.
So that's another great question. So I'm a big biker. I don't have a Peloton. I have a really nice Life Cycle. It's literally right over to the right of me in my studio. We also have in my house, we have the latest and greatest. What is it? The treadmill that goes up to 40-degree incline. I can't even think of what it's called. It's insane. Like so we're going to Peru at the end of July. I'm filming a television series there. And it's my second trip to Peru. But I mean, you know, there's 18 and 19,000 foot peaks in Peru. You know, Mount Humante is like 19,500 feet. So, you know, I want to be ready. And I mean, I'm pretty good, you know, cardiovascularly, but I'm like, you know, I'm going to buy this. It's a Nordic Track. I couldn't think of it. It's the X32i.
I've seen that.
It's the X32i. It's like the bee's knees. And we just got it like 2 months ago. And it's amazing, dude. Like, I mean, it's the most amazing treadmill I've ever got. I mean, you have to be an absolute freak to walk for 30 minutes at 40-degree incline at like 2.5 miles an hour. I mean, it'll burn, I'm not exaggerating, it'll burn 1,500 calories in 30 minutes. That's how insane it is.
That is
but
crazy.
It's, you know, we got it for that purpose. But I normally do bike because I like to read on my bike. Okay. Yeah. And my masseuse, my cranial sacral lady, told me on Saturday, she's like, dude, you got over patterning in your right, you know, lower quadrant, you know, inside where your, you know, your connective tissue is, your psoas and all this stuff. You just got over patterning. You've been biking for so long and doing it so consistently. I want you to move to the treadmill. And she's like, don't walk fast. You know, she's like, walk at a wide pace. So, I mean, I moved to that to do that, but normally I'm a biker, man. I mean, I should get an ergometer. You know, when you said that, you're like, here's another guy telling me I got to get that in my house. But my wife is a treadmill walker on an incline, and I'm mostly a bike guy. But I mean, again, you know, back to the heart rate stuff. I usually ride at 15 intensity on my Life Cycle, and my heart rate goes from, you know, anywhere from at the highest like 142.
How are you measuring your heart rate? Did you have a wearable?
I do. I have the Amazon, whatever the $60 little Amazon thing is, because that thing actually works with that new treadmill too. So I got that like 2 months ago. But besides that, I mean, my life cycle is, just a hand meter, but it's pretty accurate. I've been using it for like 6 years now. I need to get a new bike, by the way, too, because it's just worn down. But
so you're lifting 3 to 4 times a week. 3 to 4 times a week you're lifting. Cardio 3 to 4 as well.
So lifting 3 times. Cardio is really just dependent on how much time I have in the day and how lean I want to be. Like if I want to be absolutely shredded, I will probably do a second session of cardio on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wow. But again, it's just depending on whether I'm at. If I'm at home and I have access to cardio equipment, if I'm on the road and I'm traveling, I'll never do 2 sessions usually because you just don't have access.
Okay. All right. I got a bunch of questions. I'm going to go rapid fire at you. So I'm really interested. I know you've done a lot of stuff on testosterone, bioidentical supplementation. I want to know how you dose it. I see lots of patients that come into me that are using creams, that are using extended release formulas. Typically, if I recommend testosterone supplementation, I'm trying to keep my patients in that top 25% of the reference range. I've seen too many patients come way outside of the reference range. Then you get this receptor site down regulation. I like to keep the injections, between 2 and 4 days. I feel like you can keep the dose more steady on that versus doing every 7 days or 10 days. I feel like you get this big kind of like, huge
can't do that.
Have the steady levels.
You got it right.
I want to know what's your best dosing, gels, injectables, frequency? Where do you like people to be in the reference range? Go ahead.
Okay. All great questions. Let's start off with what you can't do. Okay. And again, this is sad because there's still so many endocrinologists and urologists that have no idea what they're doing, giving patients this, but you cannot give a bolus of testosterone at 7 or 10 or even 14-day intervals and expect it to work. Because as you know, Justin, and they don't, and they should know because they went to school for this,
right? The
way the half-life works of these medications, you cannot put it into somebody's system, shut down their endogenous, again, with this exogenous supply, and then understanding the or the half cycle life of that bioidentical hormone, thinking that you're going to have any kind of efficacy after 6 days. I mean, you're not. I mean, in fact, you're going to have a crash and you're going to have all sorts of, again, perturbations of estrogen going sideways, testosterone crashing. I mean, it's just a horrible situation. So 2 delivery systems that work. What you said is accurate. Now, what we want to understand, and again, for the people watching the show or not familiar with my work, I mean, this is like, my quote unquote claim to fame and like how
I'll put links below for everything. So people.
So from an internet standpoint, like, I wrote a book in 2015 called The Definitive TRT Manual. It became the #1 selling book of all time on testosterone. 4 years later, I wrote a book called The Testosterone Optimization Therapy Bible, and it is the #1 selling book of all time on testosterone. So I work with the top docs, the top researchers, the top endos, the top epidemiologists, like all the people that really are the who's who in this industry is the people that I work with in this. So just to give you guys that clarification and that justification. But at the end of the day, what we want to do when we use therapeutic hormones, and this goes for, by the way, women or men, is we want to mimic the body's endogenous pulsatile release as closely as we can. Now, you're going to do that based on using a delivery system that is not spasmodic, right? It's not a giant bolus. There's a lot of testosterone delivery systems out there that are absolutely worthless. The only value that they provide is lining the pocket of the doctor who gives it to the patient. Okay. I don't have to mention some of those, but at the end of the day, I have doctors that will argue with me and they'll be like, well, that may be true, Jay, but some testosterone is better than none. And I can't dispute that, but I definitely can argue that, some delivery systems cause way more side effects than others and should be avoided. But back to what you were saying, the best way to imitate or mimic the body's natural pulsatile and usually diurnal release of testosterone is through every other day or daily delivery systems. So if it's injections, it would be really nice if you were injecting with a insulin needle early in the morning with a bolus of like 25 to 35 milligrams or 15 to 20 milligrams. Again, if you're going daily, and if you're every other day, then you're looking at, again, depending on that person, I'm mostly speaking about men for right now, but somewhere between 40 and 60 milligrams every other day. Okay.
And what place in the reference range do you like people to be? I mean, so are you going to recommend testosterone if they're in the bottom 25%? And then is there a goal that you want them to fall within the range?
Okay. So this is, very unique stuff here. I'm not a physician. A,
Yep.
right? So I'm not prescribing to men, and I am not also, governed by state medical licensing
You're
authorities,
speaking
right?
from your personal experience and people reporting back to you where they feel the
Yes.
best.
Well, I mean, look, I understand your business very well. Okay. I've not been in the business, but I could easily be in the business if I choose to be in the business. I'm not in the business, but I also work with obviously literally hundreds of doctors. I understand this. I've sat there and listened to the top teachers in the world and, what happens to guys that are attempting to prescribe and, again, what can happen negatively if, people are at one low end of the range and they prescribe and then they get audited and blah, blah, blah. So this is what we know, again, from like a general universals construct. The only thing that matters when you're optimizing two people, any person's hormones, males or females, is if they're asymptomatic and they feel good. Now, levels are, again, just a measurement, a quantifier, so to speak, of, again, various lab corp companies, right? So what we have to understand, Justin, and this is big picture for people watching this, is that whoever is behind the lab companies have been suppressing the standard mean deviations, right? So the top and the low are pushing and being compressed. And I think this 5 years ago, the high end of the range for both companies was between 1240 and 1400.
Mm-hmm.
And now between LabCorp and Quest, and fact check me if you guys have to on this, because they're lowering them all the time now.
800 to 1,000, typically the high.
Dude, it's insane. It's so much lower. And if you ask people in the endocrine society or the whatever the urology deal is, they'll say, "Oh, well, it's not conspiracy theory, Jay. It's fat people are getting fatter and we're just deviating for the compression of like lower testosterone due to metabolic disorder and dysregulation and blah, blah, blah." But again, if you ask the smart people who go to the endocrine society meetings every year, and I know somebody who just went, and you ask the smart people there, like Abraham Morgentaler, who I love and has done more for testosterone optimization than anyone, he'll tell you that it doesn't make sense. So, in my opinion, if we want to go full blown, put tinfoil hats on and conspiratorial, they are making men fatter, softer, weaker. I mean, this is where this is going, right? So it's like, to answer your question in a long, convoluted way, I would personally like to see men that have free testosterone levels, and again, depending on the measuring criteria, of somewhere between 35 and 50. Okay.
Yep.
And they feel good. Like they're energetic. They have dopamine signaling, increased cognition. There's no brain fog. They're obviously really good sexually. They have, thick, firmer erections, morning wood, all that stuff. That's where you want to be from a free standard measurement. Is there a total number that's great? No, but if you talk to the best docs, they're going to tell you that, like, depending on when you test them, at the peak or the nadir, you want to see them somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500. Now, that's not to say that somebody who's at 2,000 for, an hour, who's now going to function probably between 750 and 1,000 during the week, is bad. So it really just comes down to, like, are they not having symptoms, and do they feel good? And that's the criteria. Now, I know that's a shitty answer for you because, like, you want to, like, be like, okay, well, when they get tested, I want them to be here or here or here. But it's kind of hard to say that because ultimately it depends on when you test them, what the delivery system is. Now, let me just also answer that there's two forms of delivery systems that are best. Okay. Now, I know there's now oral products on the market, and we can go deep down that rabbit hole if you want and talk about that in a second. And I feel that they do have promise, but they're not there yet. But the other one is transscrotal, right? So a transdermal obviously is on the skin, but what we now know scientifically is that the membrane of the base of the scrotum is 8 times more permeable than any other skin location. So if you're going to prescribe transdermal for a man, and by the way, this goes for women too, translabia, right? So right in the area of the clitoris and the vaginal lips is where you want to put testosterone cream. And obviously with women, that's a little bit more complex. You might have progesterone cream in there with them too, whatever. It's a whole other thing. But at the end of the day, the places where they can get the best absorption for the transdermals is the best. And so I've now been on testosterone, therapeutic testosterone, for almost 22 years. I was on injectable for close to 17 and a half. And since then, I've been on transscrotal. And Justin, I will never go back to injectable for a couple of reasons.
Interesting.
I travel the world a lot, and I don't like carrying needles in my hygiene bag because you never know when you're going to run into some asshole at international airport who says, "What the hell is this?" Right. But then the other reason is it's just a lot easier to carry a transdermal cream, in your hygiene bag as you travel around the world. And obviously on the side of it, it has your script and your doctor's information and the codes and stuff like that, versus like, you're going through a whatchamacallit, a screen point, and they pull it out and they see needles and they're like, ah. I mean, you've heard of stories of like, Sylvester Stallone and all these guys getting pulled over. But at the end of the day, that's why I changed. There is some biological reasons. Cream on the scrotum increases DHT a little bit higher from a standpoint. And obviously, as you know, DHT is the primary anabolic cascade. So men will have better erections, but as far as anything else, it's equal. You're not going to have better energy or better muscle growth or better stamina or cognition or any of those things. They're equal. But those are the only two delivery systems, in my opinion, that are worth a shit. I know that the number one delivery system is pellets. And I've done videos about pellets. I've brought on the best experts in the world about pellets. This is what I'll say about pellets, because people need to hear this. This is how you know pellets are a worthless delivery system. And I know I'm going to offend people. There has never been a single scientific study on testosterone ever done using pellets. Now, if you knew that, why in the hell would you ever consider using pellets for therapy? And look, I know there are thousands of people in North America right now using pellets, especially women, and they get great results. And the doctors that use them and prescribe them, and it might be you, if you prescribe them, they'll say, hey, dude, some of these people are in the military and they're in active duty and they're in the field and they don't have an option. They can't inject, they're being scrutinized. They're, blah, blah, blah. They can only get this like every 6 or 8 weeks. I get it.
Right.
In those cases, that's cool. But pellets are bad news from a delivery system because of the way they cleave as an ester in people's body. Everybody's biochemically unique, Justin. We're all N of 1, and a lot of people are hyper excretors. And you can put in a pellet that's supposed to be an 8-week life cycle, and they have 4 weeks. And they're
the
done.
Last half, I always see them just drop out a ton.
It's horrible, dude.
Yeah, frequently.
It's horrible. But again, I'm not against it if it's the only most efficacious path and it's that person's only option, because again, some is better than none.
Okay. Now, when do you recommend doing testosterone? Because my philosophy naturally is, all right, someone comes in, they're overweight, they're tired, they're fatigued. My first thing is get the inflammation down. Let's improve your nutrient density. Let's get your cortisol and insulin resistance in check. Let's get you moving, some cardio, some resistance training. Let's get everything fixed metabolically, and then just kind of see where you fit. And if you continue to improve, excellent. We can use some herbs, maybe some tribulus, maca, different, horny goat weed, epimedium. There's different herbs you can use. Kind of, when do you transition from herbal diets to going a hormone route? And then do you ever use like things like HCG in between? How does that progression look for you?
All amazing questions. These are not easy answers. And obviously I'm injecting a lot of my opinion on this. I've done a lot of research on herbs, testosterone boosters. Well, let me just first talk about testosterone boosters. And by the way, for the people that are new to me that watch this is live, right? And then it'll be on your YouTube channel. Okay. So the people that are new to me and are watching this right now, and I'm going to be a shill, but I highly recommend you go to my YouTube channel and you watch the video that was part 1 last week with Dr. Keith Nichols, and part 2 breaks today in about 2.5 hours. And I'm telling you guys right now, this is the state of the science on hormonal optimization for not just men, but for women too. Okay. Today's video is about 90 minutes. Last week's was like 48 minutes, but I broke up the whole conversation into 2 because I was like, I want people to digest this. We talk about prostate cancer. We talk about vascular illness. I mean, it is the state of the science. Keith is going to be, Dr. Keith Nichols, who's interviewed with me, he's going to probably at some point be the guy that replaces Dr. Neil Rougier, who's the #1 trainer on the planet for testosterone optimization or just hormone optimization in general. And it's just brilliant. I mean, anyone can learn what he is talking about in there. But, to those questions, there isn't a single testosterone boosting herb or supplement on the planet that's proven to work. Now, as you know, because we're going to talk about consciousness at some point, the placebo effect is very real. If a human being takes something and puts their energy and their intention into it, that it's going to work, they probably will create that reality. It's absolutely possible. But from a scientific standpoint, when you analyze all of these different supplements and these, again, Tonkat Ali and horny goat weed and maca, and these things, they don't do jack shit. Okay. So are they going to work if the person believes in them? Yes. But if that person that you're working with, and you said all the right things, decides that they want to stop being fat and stop being inflamed and exercise and eat better and control for insulin, that's going to do just as much as any of those other things. Now, I'm not saying that adding those things in as, additional adjuncts won't help, but I would say that, before you go, and we'll get there in a second, but before you go the therapeutic adjuvant route, like you just said, do what you just said. Lower inflammation, lower belly fat, get them exercising, blah, blah, blah. But here's where, the really smart people in this industry will come in and say, that's great, Jay and Justin, but how are you going to get a 50-year-old guy who's got 30 pounds or 20 to 30 pounds of belly fat and a 135 total testosterone level with no free testosterone? How are you going to get him the energy to do any of that shit without concomitantly optimizing their testosterone? So for those people that I'm like, well, you know what, dude, like you're probably going to have to put them on a mild dose, hoping, and again, this is where you as a physician really has to have great discernment to decide whether this person's committed. Because like, if I'm you, and again, I'm not you, but if I'm you, I'm not putting a fat person who comes in my office who's a lazy pile of no way on testosterone, because it's not going to do shit for him. If anything, it's going to cause inflammation. And again, look, man, I want to say this because I've never had a chance to say this, and someone so educated as your show. I see a lot of fat guys. And when I say fat guys, I mean, they got big bellies, right? They got beer drinking bellies. And they go on testosterone and it doesn't work, quote unquote. And it doesn't work because they're inflamed. And they're injecting testosterone right into their fat visceral body in their stomach and that center adiposity right there. And they get supreme inflammatory responses.
It's probably aromatizing as well.
Well, okay. It's aromatizing. That's what you think it's doing. What's happening is, okay, so let's go to that because I want to address that. So when we inject testosterone, and it doesn't matter the testosterone delivery system, but let's just say for now when we're injecting it, we want the estrogen to fall to the level that the testosterone is going to allow it to aromatize. So yes, we want it to aromatize, but the aromatization is not bad. The aromatization is providing the benefits. We want healthy levels of estrogen to provide protection to vascular networks, to the brain networks, to the bone mineral density, even to the skin. There's a lot of all these amazing things. So the problem is not in the aromatization. The problem is in the visceral fat, which is causing inflammation. So the inflammatory cascade, which is happening for these people that have too much fat, is absolutely causing the side effects. But 90% of physicians, and I'm not saying it's you, they miss this. And they think it's high estrogen symptoms and side effects. It has nothing to do with high estrogen. It has everything to do with inflammation and the cascade of inflammation. And so I'm telling you, I've seen tons of men who literally quit because they're like, I can't handle the side effects. And their doctor tells them it's high estrogen side effects. Water retention, itchy nipples, I could go on. No, it's inflammation that you have systemically that the testosterone is adding to, because the testosterone is an exogenous chemical that the body is like saying, oh, great, another one. On top of the beer and the pizza and the cheese and all the other peanut butter and ice cream that you're pounding in. I mean, that's causing the inflammation. So ultimately, it's tough, dude. The people in America today, because as you know, we have what? I mean, I just saw a stat 2 days ago that says, and this is insane, by the way, 70% of men and women over the age of 40 in the United States are obese. 70%!
That's insane.
70% over the age of 40. I don't want, people to get confused with that, but that's, I mean, dude, we don't have to worry about like the V or the C. I mean, that's diabetes, and it comes after diabetes. I mean, so, I mean, at the end of the day, man, if you're a fat person, and this is for you, for a physician, if a really fat person comes in, man, you got to do a psychological analysis. Like, dude, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Like, are you truly going to change? Like, are you going to fight through this? Because I'm not giving a really fat person testosterone, bro, if I don't think they're going to actually do the work. Because testosterone is just it's not a magic bullet. As you know, it's an adjunct.
Right. 100%. It makes sense. Very good. Yeah, I would argue, I would just say things like insulin resistance are primarily going to be driven through inflammation, and insulin resistance it's kind of all connected, right?
That's what it is. That's the answer.
Excess carbohydrates, grains, processed stuff.
It's insulin resistance.
It's all connected.
So you know what? I'm glad you said that because I screwed up and missed that. So high estrogen symptoms is insulin resistance.
Right.
That's 100% the answer. And again, most people miss this. So if you are, again, fat and inflamed, it's 98.9% likely that you have severe insulin resistance.
Yeah. I think that's great. And you mentioned a bunch of things that you were doing for that. Obviously, all the exercise things. You mentioned the berberine, right? I think you mentioned metformin as well. I imagine you're probably doing some B12 with that because I know there's B12
absolutely. Folate
with that.
Yeah, I take folate. a very, very complex. I take B Right from Jarrow Formulas. Yep. Absolutely. So let's talk about that.
Else?
So let's talk about that. So if you're going to go on therapeutic hormones, what we now know, and this is very cutting edge, tip of the spear stuff, is you cannot optimize the endocrine system without also optimizing the thyroid, the pancreas, and the pituitary. Now, you already know this because you're a functional medicine freak and you know all these things. But the average guy prescribing this shit doesn't know this, especially for women. I mean, do you have any idea how many people go on, again, testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, depending on age, perimenopausal, postmenopausal, whatever, and they're not optimizing the thyroid?
Oh, yeah. Well, especially on the hair loss side. On the hair loss side, for sure.
Dude, it's crazy, though, how often you see this. So, I like to say this. It's a triune. If you're going to go on hormonal optimization, and again, for me, if you're 45 and you're in America with this, and we haven't talked about this before, we end the show, but I mean, look, man, at the end of the day, we are being bombarded, bro. I mean, you can't, from the blue light, from the plastic in the water. I mean, this is the best water on the planet. It's still in a plastic bottle. I mean, I could pour it in metal if I wanted to, right? But it's just more work. But I mean, we have to be so overly proactive in type A to, intervene, if not avoid, this horrific biochemical onslaught to us. So at the end of the day, if you're going to look to hormonal optimization, in my opinion, you have to at 40 to 45, again, depending on your level of leanness and your inflammation. I'm saying the way it's done right is, again, depending on you're a woman or man, age, it's looking at free testosterone to see if you're eligible to start, obviously the therapeutic route. It's supplementing with desiccated / porcine thyroid, again, relative to your, relative to your metabolic issues and insulin resistance. And then, of course, you have to control for insulin. And, again, I obviously I'm the biggest metformin homer in the world. I've written an article that's, cited on the Harvard Education Review. It's 10,000 words on metformin, but I am a big metformin advocate because of all the things it doesn't do outside of the great stuff it does for insulin suppression, right? It can stop tumor formation. It increases akkermansia. I mean, it does so many amazing things. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to get metformin, you're afraid of metformin, you've read all the bullshit on the internet about metformin, then at least use dihydroberberine because, again, you got to control for insulin, right? And I know there's new drugs, there's, semaglutide and there's a new one. And they're coming out all the time now, all these things that suppress blood glucose. And that's cool. But, metformin is a plant and dihydroberberine is a supplement. So, I'm all about natural adjuvants. But, between desiccated, therapeutic testosterone, maybe some progesterone, maybe a little bit of estradiol, depending on if you're a woman or a man, in your age. And then suppressing and controlling for insulin. I mean, that's the holy triune for me. That's the three-prong deal. If you do one or two without the other, you're eventually going to throw the balance of the other one off.
No, that makes sense. You said metformin is natural. Yeah, it's from the French lilac flower. So for sure.
That's exactly right.
A lot of good natural things there. I love it. I just want to pivot here one sec before we kind of wrap things up. I want you to kind of dive a little bit into the genesis of your hair formulation. We talked about, I'm going to kind of go through a couple of the ingredients. I just kind of want to pick your brain and kind of have you walk us through your thinking of why you put those in there. So obviously you chose the grapeseed oil. I've heard some really good benefits of grapeseed oil, blends really well. Why is it you chose that fat? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no. So great questions. And I'm happy to go through and break them all down, as for whatever relative time we have left. So the grapeseed, so version 1 of Loxana was MCT oil. And again, we're just going and learning as we go. And MCT oil as a carrier molecule, pretty much the same, but messy, thicker constitution. So we changed to grapeseed oil and we then put it in a spray bottle. Actually, we originally had a dropper, but then all those bottles broke. And that's, the story that we gave on Ben's podcast last year. But at the end of the day, grapeseed oil is very texturized. It's a very thin constituent. And so as the carrier oil for, the primary active ingredient, which is carbon 60, it just settles in the hair as a spray, and you can massage into the scalp a lot easier. Obviously, grapeseed oil is very inert. And there is, some data in the world that as, kind of as like an essential fatty acid that it also helps it helps from a nutrient density standpoint in the scalp, but we're really just using it as a carrier oil for carbon 60.
Okay. Got it. Excellent. I put on screen here just so you can see as well, people
For
listening, all the ingredients there. And then can you talk about a couple other, more keystone ingredients? How about the peptides you chose?
Yeah. So let's talk about the product. So the product for everybody is called Oxano Grow. And by the way, you have an affiliate code in that, so just make sure you put it in here
Oh, yeah.
at the end of the day. But and if you don't, I think your assistant has it. But if not, just email me and I'll give it to you. But so Oxano Grow is developed or created for people who do not want to use DHT inhibitor medications, ever, or if they're on it now, like how to wean yourself off. I just did, which is a very long time coming, a video on how to wean yourself off of a DHT inhibitor medication while utilizing the natural peptide-based product of us. But so it's two phases of our product. There's B and A, okay? Formula A or Formula B. Formula A is the peptide, copper peptide GHKCU. Copper peptide GHKCU is what we call the ShamWow of peptides. It has so many modalities to help skin, hair. The primary effectiveness of that peptide is that increases angiogenesis, which is again the stimulation of red blood cell formation. So when you put it in the scalp and you massage it into the scalp, it will increase again angiogenesis. So it will bring more red blood cells to the scalp. Now, as I told you off air, I'm not allowed to talk about invasive procedures, but if you are a smart person and you ask, does microneedling or does derma rolling help? Well, do the math.
Right.
Right. So
got it.
That would be, you put Serum A on first, massage it into your scalp. If you want to then add red light, okay, if you have a red light technology in your home and you want
LED laser on top. Yeah.
Absolutely. Infrared and LED together for 3 to 5 minutes. And then you would put Serum B, which is the carbon 60. And just let me explain the Serum B. So obviously you already talked about the grapeseed oil extract, but the carbon 60 does two things. Carbon 60 is a very powerful antioxidant. Okay. But for our purposes, it acts as a molecular sponge, and it actually will attempt to pull in the Serum A, which again is the copper peptide. But it also, as a molecular sponge or as a superoxidative dismutase, it's going to help remove all of the micro-inflammatory agents and irritants in your scalp. So it's like a twofold process. So the way it works just is 2 sprays of Serum A, massage it. If you want to do something, quote unquote, with an INV to, further stimulate, absorption, do that. Then hit it with red light. Then put Serum B on, 30 to 40 seconds. And by the way, for everybody, more is not better for our product. Less is more, because again, this is not about spraying it into your hair, especially if you're a woman and you have long hair. It's about getting it into your scalp and then massaging it into your scalp. And again, scalp massage can be 30 seconds. It can be 3 minutes. It's totally up to you. Scalp massage is proven scientifically without formulations, without essential fatty acids or minerals. You can just massage your scalp every day and you increase red blood cell formation. It's a fact, right? So obviously if you want to massage your scalp after you apply the products, it's a good thing. But for people that have aggressive hair loss, and by the way, you mentioned it earlier, and this is important that we talk about this, autoimmune dysregulation and, hair loss cause, which again, the big C causes hair loss. We now know that people have C hair. This product dramatically improves COVID-related hair loss. I shouldn't have said COVID, but I apologize. I said it twice. But it definitely improves it again, because this is, as you said, oxidative related hair loss. This is caused by, whatever the big C is, and you putting this into your scalp, especially for women, because a lot of women are reporting, C related hair loss more than men. It dramatically will improve that hair loss. And again, we have, hundreds of reviews on our website from women that have had that issue. And they're like, oh my God, it's a miracle. There's a doctor, you might know her in Pennsylvania, Dr. Amy Horman. She's like the thyroid fixer. She's got literally thousands of women using Oxano now because she's like, it's the only thing that we found that actually will work against autoimmune disorder or dysregulated hair loss.
Interesting. I imagine also too with the oxidative stress, that also is what causes the hair to lose the melanin and become premature gray. So I know
So
upregulating.
the fact that you say that, I
Yeah.
wasn't going to say that, but a lot of women and men report that a natural positive side effect of using it is the darkening of the hair. And by the way, I mean, that's me too. Okay.
Yeah.
Cause like I would be, and I'm not using Oxano as aggressively as I normally would, because it is true, even though this is crazy when I say this, you can get to a level with regrowth that you don't need to keep using it. Although a very big influencer and I just did a podcast about this because he's like, hey man, I stopped using it for a year and my hair's coming out again. I'm like, well, yeah, dude, you're 47. So at the end of the day, age-related hair loss, there really is nothing that can, completely stop it. Even a great lifestyle, even our product, you're still going to have to deal with that. So, the reality is like, use it every now and then. We are going to be coming out with a maintenance product, Justin, because again, so many people are asking for it, kind of like J. Paul Mitchell pump dispenser, put it in your hair when you get out of the shower at night, go to bed with it or whatever. But most people who get results, and again, this is not going to work for everybody. Some people have really bad genetic hair loss. Some people are stressed. Some people have really severe trauma and inflammation that they just can't overcome. But I'd say somewhere between 68 and 75% of men or women who live a clean, healthy lifestyle, as a person that runs our influencer marketing likes to say, people who are serious about their health, are going to get really positive results. I mean, anybody who knows me can just go back 2 years before this product came into the marketplace, and I was nearly bald. In fact, I actually did the Vantis procedure on top of my scalp, which is like a henna tattoo, to keep me with like the 5 o'clock shadow hair.
Right.
And, people see me now in public. Yesterday, I was out and hadn't seen a guy in 3 years. He's like, bro, do you have a hair transplant? I'm like, no, dude, this is my product. So, people can regrow their hair with this product. You were asking about, is it a maintenance product? Because you have a lot of hair right now. It absolutely is. For someone like you, you would spray it into your scalp like once or twice a week, massage it in. And it's an absolutely amazing. Yeah. It's a very, really strong maintenance product. You can also use it on beards. We are going to eventually have a beard product.
Oh, really?
You can absolutely use it on beard. It's amazing on beard. So the Serum A is, a water-based formulation. So you can absolutely massage it into your scalp. You're not going to have any residue. It's going to grow. It's going to feel amazing. But the Serum B, again, with the grapeseed oil extract, it is slightly oily. It's not oily, but it definitely feels noticeable.
Is it better at night to do it so it can absorb?
I mean, it just depends on, I think, the length of your hair. Like if you were, not you, but somewhat balding man with patches, you're not going to notice it. But for a longer hair person like you or a woman, and you spray a couple of sprays and you don't get it into the scalp and some of it sits in the hair, you will definitely probably notice a little bit of residual. A lot of our patients, a lot of our customers report back that they like it as a texturizer. And they don't have to use quote unquote product to mess their hair or mousse their hair or anything like that. So it does.
And you probably get that benefit going from MCT to the grapeseed, I imagine, right?
Yeah, 100% on that. And that's why Nick actually did that. The other thing I would say is the beard product that's coming will be very similar to Serum A now, because you'll see it like it's harder to use unless you got a big, long, beard, which I know a lot of guys have that now, the neck beard people. It's harder to get to the base because remember, again, it is a health of the skin product. It's copper peptide.
Got it.
So the longer your beard, it's going to be harder. But when we have the product for beards, it'll be more of like a balm roll-on.
Okay.
Versus the spray now, which is for the scalp. So, but you can definitely use it in the beard now. We have tons of people who've been using it in their beard for over a year, and they're like, it's the best product I have.
So Serum A first, and then if you do any laser light stuff, and then Serum B will be the last component.
Yeah. And it goes to mention, because I know you have a lot of different patients. I mean, our skin products, which is Royal Blue Serum and Sky Blue Cream, are the best on earth. In fact, again, don't leave the guy who's the hype man for the company. Go read the reviews. We have women who are very well-to-do, affluent, sophisticated ladies that used La Mer and Rodan and Fields and all the high-end shit. And they're like, we threw it all in the trash and we buy the bundle of your guys' product every month.
So is the hallmark ingredient in the Royal Blue, is that going to be the peptide as well?
Same thing.
Copper
Yep.
peptide.
Yep. So
Got it. See the
again,
copper. Got it.
GHKCU is the sham wow of peptides.
Okay.
It's the number one skin peptide. And by the way, just so you know, so people understand this, you can absolutely buy GHKCU and inject it into your scalp. I mean, if you're insane enough to inject it into the skin on the top of your hair, you know, which is going to hurt like shit, but it works. I mean, I have hundreds of people, you know, who have messaged me about that and saying, man, I use your product as like the base. And then I inject GHK in. But yeah, it regrows your hair better than anything, man. It's amazing.
So how long to get results? Because like the data on like modoxanil or with Rogaine or minoxidil or Propecia, usually 9 to 12 months, right? And
sometimes dude, you see results. You see results. Okay, so let me temper my enthusiasm. It depends on the cellular health of the end user, right? So someone like me who's no inflammation, you're going to see results in literally 3 to 5 weeks. Okay. We have women that see results in 10 days. Women that have COVID related hair loss start regrowing the hair back immediately. Now, as far as like, when is the dosing of this? We never tell anyone to dose more than twice a day. And personally, and again, this is just my opinion. I already said less is more. It's more important that you massage it into your scalp than it is spraying it in twice a day. Because again, so many people think that if I spray 2 sprays and I get great results, then 3 sprays is going to be better. It's not that. It doesn't work that way. So when we sell the bottle, we say up to a 90-day supply because it is expensive. It's not cheap to manufacture the stuff. It's really, really high level GHKCU product. It's not coming from China. It's all USA made. It's expensive. We do not tell people to over apply it. And I swear to God, Justin, it doesn't matter. You know, we live in a super size, you know, more is better economy, no matter what.
Always.
They always want to put more in. But like, if you're a guy and your hair, you're watching this in the rerun or now or whatever, and you have hair like mine, literally just do it once a day for a month, see what happens. It's going to still last you for 3 months. I mean, my hair, 2 bottles, which is 1 order, is going to last 90 days. But if you have longer hair, and you don't like, you know, it's hard. I mean, let's be honest. It's harder to massage into the scalp with longer hair. So
but maybe after a shower, when your hair is a little bit wet and
that's the way you want to do
kind
it.
of get it in more.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I mean, it really depends, right? If you're a woman and you have a mop on your head, like my wife's got long curly hair, you know, it's still not going to get into the scalp like it would for somebody like me. Yeah.
Right.
It's just going to get absorbed by the hair. So no matter how good you are at massaging into the scalp, it's still going to be more difficult. But that's why we say up to 90 days, because longer hair people are not going to get as much out of the 2 bottles as a shorter hair person is. It's just not going to happen.
Okay. And one other question too, I've noticed this with a couple of patients where they have DHT patterns of hair loss, yet we're working on all the core foundational things. Their DHT levels look really good on the blood test. Right. Can you have DHT issues at the scalp level, but have it not show systemically in the blood?
So I'm going to blow your mind with this. If you prescribe, this is where it really gets crazy about DHT. If you prescribe them a DHT cream, they will grow their hair back on their scalp like a wolf man. So DHT in that article, as we said, is a secondary and most likely tertiary effector and causal agent of hair loss. It's not anything to do with dihydrotestosterone. And again, that's how we know, and we write about that in the article, that if you write somebody a script for a DHT cream and they put it all over their scalp, their hair grows back. Now, the only thing to answer that question, though, that's important is you cannot put our product on a bald patch that does not have active hair follicles. You know, and again, we've been very transparent from the very beginning that where our formulation is now, and, you know, I'll shed some light on this in a second, it won't work that way, you know. But as the genius formulator, Brainiac, Nick Andrews, my partner in Asir, says, he goes, oh, eventually I'll be able to grow hair on a cue ball. And that's where it's coming. So that's where we'll eventually go. I'd say we're
start integrating stem cells and such.
Exactly. But that's exactly right. We're like 2 phases away. So we're in this is V2, V3, V3 is coming, and V3 will be a 1-phase liposomal system. So it will literally be bottle, squirt it into your hand, massage it. The oil-based carbon 60 will be in a nanomolecule, you know, encased in the water-based formula, and it'll break open when you massage it into the skin. And then version 4 will have what you just said. It'll have all sorts of other peptides like micro agents and abrasors, and it'll be like it'll essentially be a derma roller, you know, what do you call it? Invasive product just by massage. Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome,
So it's
Jay.
coming. The technology is amazing, but we're not there yet.
I love it. Well, it was amazing having you on today's podcast. Really appreciate all the significant knowledge. Any last points you want to make before we end the show?
No, man. I mean, I want you to come on my podcast because I know it'll be just as awesome. For anybody that wants to connect with me, I actually have a link. I always do for everyone I go on podcast. You can go to Campbell.com/free books, and you can download. I think maybe all my books are free now, but I know there's at least 3 books up there. The Testosterone Bible is up there for free. My book on the fasting, the blowtorch diet, is up there for free. And then I have a book on consciousness, which the next time you and I talk, we'll go deeper on that.
Talk about that.
The only other thing I will say is that this week I finally acquired my domain, and jaycampbell.com is going to be my website. So I've had a guy cyber squatting for a long time. Yeah. I mean, it's a funny story. He asked me for a lot of money, and I usually just delete him and ignore him. And I finally wrote him back and I said, you know what, man, this will be the last time I ever respond to you. I will offer you blank. And it was a lot less than what he was asking for. And if you don't say yes, F off, and you'll never hear from me again. And I can assure you, no one will ever offer you that amount of money again for jaycampbell.com. So he actually said yes. So anyway, I will be on jaycampbell.com effectively Thursday of this week. The transmission or the domain transfer is starting on Wednesday. So it's totally cool for me because whenever I tell people go to jccampbell.com, they're like JC Campbell, or they do JAY, and then they put Campbell. I mean, it's just a nightmare, man. So I'm like really grateful that that's going away. But no, man, I mean, I'm so blessed to be here today. You got me going a million miles an hour because you asked the most amazing questions. I wish people could ask questions at the level you could, man, because then I can actually like talk about things in greater depth. But I can't wait for you to come on my podcast, brother.
I appreciate it, man. We'll work that out. I really appreciate it. I'm going to put all the links down below. People can get access to some of my favorite articles, some of the products you mentioned, as well as the free books. Look, thanks so much, Jay, for everything. Look forward to connecting with you real soon, man.
Yeah, for sure, Justin. Just let them know it's if they buy it, with your affiliate link or code, you'll have a link and a code. It's 15% off. So.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Well, thanks so much, man. It was great chatting with you. We'll talk again soon.
For sure, my brother. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.